Here we go, we're going to put in a glass window, a fixed bonded window into that space there. That's going to be the driver's side, and we're going to see how that turns out. Here's what we need to get the job done. Safety goggles, safety earmuffs, bang bang, because we're cutting metal again. You need some marker pens, pencils, possibly a hole punch to get you started on the drilling. You need a jigsaw. Alternatives to the jigsaw is an angle grinder, not my preferred method. You can also probably use a recip saw, also not my preferred method. And a set of tin snips, which are very, very recommended in my opinion. They're slow and easy as you go, so you're not going to damage stuff. I've got a couple of little suction cups. I've got this big one, but it doesn't work reliably, so unless you're 100% sure that your suction cup's going to work, I wouldn't recommend lifting up the glass with a dodgy suction cup. So I've got some little ones, and they're going to be on the inside actually, to pull the glass, keep the glass pulled. I'll show you how to do that later. A brush to get rid of the swarf if there's any on the inside and out. Some gloves because you're going to be using Sikaflex, which is messy stuff. Stanley knife, heat gun or hairdryer to warm up your tubes. Today's pretty cool, it's probably about 13, 14 degrees out here. So warm up your tubes so it comes out easy. Masking tapes, blue tape to protect the surface of the van, and some good strong maybe cloth tape to help hold the glass in position while it bonds. Acetone go easy on the acetone. Alrighty. Then we've also got some methylated spirits to clean up the surface prior to putting anything on it. I've got some Sikaflex primer to help bond the Sikaflex to the paintwork. It is a brand new van. It does have, you know, a nanotech type coating on it, so I don't ever have to polish it, so they say. Some nozzles. I've got two of these. Always have a backup, I reckon. Some ISO, some terps for cleanup. You're going to need some edge priming paint of some sort. I'm going with the 98% zinc to stop any corrosion on the cuts that I make. I've got some material to protect the rest of the Duco, some rags, silicone gun, tape measure, may not actually need it. I use some cotton buds to dab around the edge with the zinc. I just spray it into the lid and dab it on. A brush for the primer. You will ruin that brush, so make it a disposable one. Some files to smooth off the rough edges from your jigsawing or however you made the hole. You may want to use a straight edge for drawing your lines for your jigsaw. So I've got two. I've got a short one for the verticals and a longer one here for the horizontals. But generally you're just going to follow the edge of the inside skin. And obviously you need some pinch weld, pinch rubber, whatever you want to call it, to finish off and make your edge nice and tidy. In addition to those, I have a block or a length of wood which will be used to prop up against the base of the glass, just to keep it held up against the ground. So have that measure and cut before you start. Make it a wide piece of wood so you don't have a point load on one edge of the glass, just in case you knock it or something and it causes it to shatter. Not that it should. Alrighty, so they're pretty much the things you need. Also need a step ladder, so have that handy. Have everything within arm's reach. The last thing you want is to be holding a piece of glass and go, it's just over there and I've just started, and have to let go. It may stay there, it may not. Right, the first thing I've got to do is remove these because I want to get a nice straight edge across there. So that's what I'm going to do now. I'm going to opt to use tin snips for that because it does a less aggressive job. I don't want sparks flying around the cab, burning holes in seats and so forth. And also, as I mentioned in my air vent video, to use a friction saw, such as an angle grinder, you really are changing the metal, and you're also upsetting the paint in the vicinity of the cut, so it's heating up that paint, and that's not a good idea in my opinion. So tin snips is what I'm using there. Give myself a straight edge to work to. Starting at the bottom. Pretty easy stuff to cut, believe me. If you're using tin snips, don't cut right to the end of the snip. So don't let the two shears actually come together when you're doing a cut. It's only at the very end that you would do that. Even otherwise, you end up with a little dint, a little burr everywhere you cut. So that's just a hint from my roof plumbing days. Now, this is held on with silicone stuff, but it does let go pretty easy if you just go slow. There we go. Easy. All right. So now I'm going to cut around this line. That's where I'm going. If I was to cut higher, I'm going to have to use two strips of pinch weld or something. It's just not going to work. So that cut needs to be level with that. Start there. Just need a starter hole for the jigsaw. Haven't decided where I'm going to start yet. So there's a couple of options. This is really just for your benefit to make sure I stay on path. Some people use a hole saw, a big hole saw, to get these radiuses, but I didn't have one really quite big enough to do a good job, in my opinion anyway. Up. Okay, here we go, here we go. Well, hole's not big enough. Now I've orientated this so that when I pick it up, I don't have to spin it round or anything like that, so it's good to go where I want it. Just going to measure where the edge is. Okay, 150. So I've got about 5 mil before it goes into the dotted section, and about 15 mil on that side. And from the top, well, we know it's going to be about there. So here's my goop. Again, open the products away from your workpiece is a good practice. So I'm going to start here. This is hot. Now the Sikaflex that I'm using is primer free, so theoretically don't need to do this, but I travelled 4 hours and $40 odd later to get this product to do the air vents, so I figure I may as well use it. Okay, that brush has done its job, I think. Get some more tape on that roof and a few other spots. Okay, like I was saying, this staff is the 258 and it is primerless, so it says. So even though I've done a priming coat on the screen, you could get by without spending the $45 or whatever it was for the 206, 207 adhesion promoter. So I use a punch to pop these, although these ones have got a little vinyl cap inside, so they don't generally need punching, but I'll do it anyway because it'll make it come out easier, hopefully. Alrighty. Oh shit. Wrong size caps. Okay, when you buy these are often behind the counter. Make sure they give you the right size ones. Fortunately, I think I've got the right size somewhere over here. So that goes there. I'm going to go and tape up a bit more on my roof so that that's ready to go. Just need, oh, almost forgot. Got to put the edge trim in first, the edge weld, pinch weld. Need a knife, need my snips, so let's go do that right now. There's a ton of swarf on the floor here, which I don't like. Okay, a lot of people start at the bottom. I'm going to start in the middle at the top because I just don't want to, well actually no, I'm going to start down here in this towards the back because this is going to be a seat here and this will be inside a bit of a nook. So it'll be sort of out of the way. I should actually probably start there. might be even better. When you get it, make sure it's cut square off at the end. Often the person that cut it for you just did a hack job, so try and make sure it's kind of neat. With a sharp part of the blade. Yeah, I'm going to start back here. Fair bit of swarf in there. Make sure it's jammed into that corner. So when you cut this off, try and just give yourself a touch more length, like 1 or 2 mil. Okay. Trying to put too many fingerprints on that outside edge where you've got all the where you've got the primer. Try and keep your fingers off it. So I'm glad I put that somewhere where it won't really be seen. There'll be cupboards here, so you'll probably hardly see that join, as opposed to having it here where most people have it. Okay, here we go. Remember, you can always spin these around inside the tube. So the idea is to give it a really nice big steep bead. I'm just going to put a glove on and squeeze what's left in the nozzle out onto these quite large parts that haven't got anything on them and they're unsupported. I do have another tube, but I'm just going to get as much out of this as I can. Okay, that can stay on there for now. Messy stuff. Okay, here we go. Don't need those, I'll move you guys. Okay. Just trying to make sure it's parallel, but also not actually touching any of the skin of the vehicle, just with vibration, and you don't want it to be somewhere where it's going to rub the paint. That was my neighbour across the road who also has a crafter. There you have it. One window on. Just going to get some sticky tape now. No, I'm not. Okay, I've got my big stick ready. And that's just going to apply a little bit of pressure there, so that that doesn't come off. Very good. More sticky tape. It is a bit cold out here, so just want to make sure this tape stays stuck. So it looks pretty good. Pretty happy. Now this was a lot easier than putting the max air vents in, a lot less to it. Just going to have a quick look inside. Now I've got that prop there, and that might upset my prop, but can't see any silicon intruding in here, which is nice. I think if I had my time again, I'd try and black out that outside cut edge, just so it blended in a bit better. I can actually still do that. I can take the pinch weld stuff off and paint that edge in there black so it matches the shadow mark on the glass. But apart from that, looking pretty nice. Nice. Not too hard a job at all. Just got to do a bit of a clean up now and we're done. I thought I should demonstrate how to use tin snips. These are offset snips, aviation snips, whiz snips. These ones are actually Midwest brand. It's what roof plumbers use largely. They're offset so that the waste material is on that outside that goes over there. That way you can do a nice straight run with these ones. If you try and use a pair of snips that look like normal scissors that don't have this splay to them, you'll only get a couple of cuts in, and then you'll have material fouling up and wanting to twist. So if you're going to do it, you need to get the offset snips. You need the red ones and the green ones. They're opposites, so they enable you to go around circles, around corners effortlessly. So In the previous part of the install, I mentioned the method of clipping, snipping. So, don't know if this is really going to show well, but okay, we'll do it that way. So this is a bit uncoordinated, but hang on. So, I mentioned that you don't cut all the way through. All right, you move and you don't let the snips go all the way through. So you just keep going like that, and that way you get a very nice, neat edge on there. Now, if I show you, let's take that completely off and show you what happens when you go all the way through. So can you see that reasonable? Get a bit of reflection onto it. Snip, snip, yeah, snip. Okay, and one more for the dummies. Okay, so what happens is you end up everywhere the end of the snip went through gets a little press mark, so you can see it, and you can see the dimples there, hopefully. So there's a dimple on this side and there's a little proud point on each of those. And if you're trying to get, say, that glass to sit flat, but it may not, keeping in mind that there is a pillow of silicone holding the glass off this. But for future reference, it just looks daggy, especially when the light hits it. So try and avoid that. Yeah. So don't follow through until right at the very end. Okay, cheers.